Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back. My name is Beth and we're going to be talking about all of the books, the 8 books that I read in the month of January. Now 8 books is a well-rounded number, I think, but it's not my typical. I typically average, I would say, between 15 to 20 books if a reading slump is not like sitting at the table with us, right? If a reading slump didn't bring their spend a night bag. I was in such a horrible reading slump for the year of 2023, I think. From spring to the end of the year, I was still reading, but most of what I was reading was not hitting. It kind of carried into 2024. It was so strong, okay? It impacted a lot in my life. I had stopped buying new books. I had stopped being part of the Bookish community. I wasn't really reading. I wasn't consuming any Bookish content, nothing. It really hit hard, okay? Fast forward to January, I was like, you know what? It's a new year. I want to start the year off with a bang. I was like, I know the perfect book. It's a thriller, which I love thrillers. It's a book that I had seen everywhere. I'd seen it on TikTok. I'd seen it on Instagram. I'd seen it on BookTube. A lot of the people that I follow, and we have very similar reading tastes. I've read this and love this. This has got to be the book that gets me out of my slump, you guys. It took me over 2 weeks to read this book. A thriller. If a thriller is doing its job properly, you would fly through that book, okay? That being said, I read Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Gillian McAllister. Please do not come at me if this is your favorite book, okay? It's fine. This book was not it for me, and I feel like it kind of sits in the same category with other really popular thrillers. I personally need to step back from super popular thrillers. The Silent Patient, for example, that is a very popular, well-loved thriller. I don't really care for it. Or The Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose, another really popular, well-loved thriller. I don't really care for it. Same goes with this one. So really quick, it's been a while since I read this, but essentially it's a woman, I think her name was Jen, who she's married to this man and they have a teenage son. She sees her son kill somebody, like out of the window. He's outside and she sees him kill somebody. So her son's been arrested and she's very confused. She's like, this isn't him. He's not a bad kid. Like, what's going on? Yada, yada, yada. She goes home and goes to bed, wakes up, and it's the previous day. Like, it's the day before the murder went down. And she's like, what's going on? Like, is this fate giving me a chance to save my son? Blah, blah, blah. Things happen, whatever, and she goes to bed that night and she wakes up and it's the day before that. And this continues on throughout the entire book. Sometimes it's the previous day, sometimes it's years. And she's going through and trying to figure out exactly why this is happening, what kind of time loop she's in, and blah, blah, blah. The premise of the book was good. I was very interested to see how this was going to go down, but the middle of the book drug so much that one, I was expecting the end to like end with a bang, because I read thrillers that are pretty slow in the middle, and that's fine, but normally the author makes up for it at the end. Like it ends like in a bang or things speed up. Then the end came and it was very sloppy and a little confusing at times, and the author didn't really explain things very well with why the character remembered things and didn't remember things, or why it said this wasn't gonna happen but it actually, I don't know. All that to say, I wound up giving this book 3 stars. It wasn't for me, but I'm gonna go ahead and recommend it to people if they ask for something that this book would fall into. And this year is gonna be the year of like unhauling for me and condensing down the amount of books that I have, etc., etc. I'm gonna try to do that. Because I read this book coming out of a super massive, dare I say, life-changing reading slump, I'm gonna hold on to this and give it a second chance, maybe like sometime this summer. Let me forget it, because I have the brain of a goldfish. I forget books all the time, and I might revisit this later. So I'm not gonna unhaul this in this video, but we will be unhauling books in our wrap-ups throughout the year. If they don't give me that Marie Kondo, it completes me feeling, where it's leaving the building. So that was the first book that I read. Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Gillian McAllister. I also want to put it out there that I'm normally not a fan of non-real life things in thrillers, if that makes sense. It probably doesn't. But for instance, time traveling, that's not something that would occur in real life. I don't really like those types of elements. Fantastical or magical realism, I don't know what you would call it. I don't really like those kind of things in my thrillers. Yeah, so there's that. Anyway. Then after I read that, I needed something that was gonna pull me out of this reading slump. I was like, there's gotta be something, okay? So like this really popular thriller didn't do it. Where else do I go? I went to Hogwarts, babe. I went to Hogwarts. I love this book. I read this book when I was in like 5th grade or when I was very young for the first time, and I've read this book probably like 5 or 6 times since, and I cry every time I read this book. Okay, so I read Harry Potter. I'm sure you all know what Harry Potter is about. If you don't, I would be impressed. Chamber of Secrets. I have read this before. This is a reread for me. I believe I've read this one like 4 times. Okay, read that one. Then I went ahead and picked up Prisoner of Azkaban. This is another reread. Read this one, loved it. So after those 3, I have never read books 4, 5, 6, or 7. I've started book 4 once, and I got to like the World Quidditch Cup area of that book, and I put it away. So I never really got into the meat and gravy of that book. I have never read books 5, 6, and 7 at all. I've never seen the movies. I had no idea what I was going in to, okay? So in the span of 2 weeks, I read the entire Harry Potter series. So I read the first 3, then I read the 4th one. This is my 2nd favorite of the series. My all-time favorite is the book number 1. Then I read Order of the Phoenix. Then I read The Half-Blood Prince. This one tore me to pieces. Okay, if you follow me on TikTok, you've seen.
You know, I always thought that I missed out not reading this series as a kid.
This one tore me to pieces. And then I read Deathly Hallows. You guys, there are so many things that I did not know about this series. So before this last week, because I think I read the last 4 just this last week. Before this last week, I had no idea who Professor Umbridge was. I've seen pictures of her, like people making fun of her, or like people saying they hate her, or whatever. But I was like, why do they make such a big deal about her and not Lord Voldemort? Because like he's the true villain here. Nay, nay, my friends. Umbridge is worse. I feel like Umbridge is much, much worse. I had no idea what a Deathly Hallows was. I thought that was the name of the war that they were fighting in, but it's not. There was just so many things that finally, after a literal over a decade, finally clicked into place, and I understand it now. I've owned these books for over a decade. They're yellowing. A lot of these are first editions because I bought them as soon as they came out, but I never read them. That is my toxic trait, okay? I'll also say that, I want to say it was November. It could be November, December. I think it was November, where I finally completed the Hunger Games trilogy. So I read Hunger Games and Catching Fire. I've read those before in the past, but I've never read Mockingjay. I finally read Mockingjay, completed that. That felt like such an accomplishment, but this Harry Potter situation, when I finished book 7, finally, after all these years of having this open series, because I had started it, and I'd started it again and started it again and started it again. I never continued on, but I finally continued on, and I finally completed it, besides like The Cursed Child. I will be getting to that. I unhauled my copy a while back, but we're gonna rebuy it. Story of my life. I rated that series 5 stars. Every single book brought out emotion from me. I believe I cried in every single book. I will be rereading them until the end of time, and I was gonna start reading them to my daughter, who is 5, but after reading the last few, I'm gonna wait a little bit longer because these books are dark AF. Okay, they're dark. But yeah, I read the entire Harry Potter series in 2 weeks, and it was an adventure, to say the least. You know, Harry Potter. Anyway, so that's what I read in the month of January. Let's circle back really quick and talk about my not finishing any series. I've never read Breaking Dawn. So I read, and I went to the midnight book release party situation to a lot of books. They used to do this quite often back in the day. And I still haven't read it because I don't like to read books right when they come out. I want to wait a little bit and see. And I shouldn't do this to myself because then when I see and I'm like, oh, they cried when they read that, I'm gonna wait. Which is what happened. That's why I didn't read Breaking Dawn. And then I've never read Allegiant, so I don't know how the Divergent series ends. I've never finished Percy Jackson series. I've never finished the Red Queen series. I've never finished the Lunar Chronicle series. Like, I can probably name to you one series that I have completed, with the exception of the two that I just mentioned, and that is the Karen Slaughter series. I don't finish series, and I really suck at it, and I'm gonna try to focus on that in 2024 as well. Just kind of check off all these boxes of all these books that I have not finished. Anyway, there's something else I want to talk to you guys about. So Jess from Peace Love Books on TikTok, I saw she started a book crochet blanket. So I recently learned how to crochet. Matter of fact, this is a baby blanket that I made my daughter for her baby dog. This was my very first project. I am going to be making a Bookish crochet blanket, and essentially what that is you buy 5 colors of yarn, and each yarn is designated to a star rating. And so you do your first row of your blanket. So like my first book that I read in 2024 was a 3-star. So whatever color correlates to my 3-star rating, that's what I do my first row in the blanket. And then the second book, or the next 7 books that I read, were all 5 stars. So I would do the next 7 lines of that blanket the 5-star color, and you just continue it on throughout the year, and then by the end of the year you'll have like a blanket. If you read a ton of books, you'll have a big blanket. If you read a little book, you'll have a little lap blanket, whatever. So I'm gonna do that. So let me show you the colors that I got, which here's another blanket that I'm working on that is striped. This isn't a Bookish blanket, it's just one that I'm working on myself. Eventually it'll be a very big blanket, but right now it kind of just looks like a skinny scarf. Hello 2012, you know? So I went to Joann's, and I got 4 colors, and I ordered the 5th color online because they didn't have a cream color in this brand of yarn. So for my 5-star, I'm gonna do this pink color. I really hope I get a lot of 5 stars this year because a blanket that would be mostly pink is ideal for me. My 4-star color is this really pretty green. My 3-star color is going to be this really pretty orange. And my 2-star color is this really pretty like teal color. And then I'm going to do a cream for my 1-star. Now, I don't typically give books 1 stars. Like, you have to like insult my mama before I give you a 1-star. But I feel like in 2024, I'm gonna try to be a little bit more picky because I am very gracious with my ratings. If I hate a book, I'll still give it a 3-star. I don't understand why, because I'm like, I hated it, but like other people like it. So like if I hated the book, it shouldn't get a 3-star. I'm not rating it for other people, I'm rating it for myself. So I need to like reevaluate my rating system, really. But I feel like cream is a good color just to kind of throw in there here and there, or even use it as a border or something. I don't know, I might not even use cream. It might just be a 4-colored blanket. We'll just have to see. So I don't have my blanket started because I just picked up the yarn 2 days ago. But I will have it started, and I'll show you where it's at in my February wrap up. So if you're interested in that, stick around. And that is it. Those are the books that I read. I feel like this is a very short-ish wrap up because it feels like I just read 2 books because I read the Harry Potter series and then the one thriller, even though I read a lot of pages. Like, that's a lot of pages. And also, I'm so proud that these are all books that I owned and I didn't get them from the library or get them from Scribd or Everend or whatever it's called now, because that's what I normally do, is read books that I don't have. I buy books, put them on my shelves, and they stay on my shelves unread while I'm reading books that I'm getting from the library. It makes no sense, but it's my toxic trait. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys stick around. If you haven't already, please give this video a thumbs up, like it, same thing. That's what that meant. And comment, subscribe, and yeah, whatever. I don't know. Okay, bye.